On this week's episode, I'm joined by Besma, an incredibly busy woman. Besma is an angel investor, a startup founder, a startup mentor, a keynote speaker, and she's been living in Portugal for the last 14 years after finding her way here via Tunisia and Germany. Besma and I discuss, amongst other things, why Portugal feels like home, what she loves about Portugal here, the warmth, the light, the colors. We speak about food, of course. We talk about business in Portugal, but mostly we talk about why Portugal, after living all over the world, is the place where Besma has stayed the longest. For those of you listening, head over to our YouTube channel to watch some of this episode. And for those of you watching, click down below and subscribe. And for the full podcast episode, head over to Stitcher, Spotify, Apple, Google, or wherever you get your podcasts. And now, over to my conversation with Besma. Welcome back, or welcome to another episode of Portugal, The Simple Life. And I'm delighted to be joined here by Besma. Besma, thank you for being on the podcast. Hello, and how are you?
Hi, good morning. Thank you for having me. I'm very good. Thank you. I just got back from a long holiday, so I'm very energized, full of batteries fully charged. Very
Wonderful.
good. Thank you.
Where did you go?
I went to Tunisia, where I
Okay.
originally come from.
Amazing. Okay. I've not been, but no, I'm originally from Africa as well, but I haven't been that far north. So yeah, but it must be beautiful. I've heard it's beautiful. Besma, tell us a little bit about you to start off with.
Okay, so as I said, I was born in Tunisia.
Mm-hmm.
I left Tunisia when I was 18. I spent most of my adult life in Germany. I think Portugal is now the second place. But I studied in Portugal, in Germany. Sorry, I did electrical engineering. I worked and lived in multiple cities in Germany, everywhere basically: München, Stuttgart, Berlin, Bonn, Nuremberg, you name it, Frankfurt. So I worked in Germany. I worked in the UK. I then went to Tokyo. I was working for Sony, for the Sony Group. I spent
In Tokyo?
in Tokyo
Wow.
close to 5 years in Tokyo. I was an expert working for at the headquarters. And then I went back to Europe, and that was Germany. And now for the past 14 years here in Portugal now. I remember when I was coming, every time we came here, I was just blown away with the light, the colors, the air, the sea. I was missing the sea. I was born on a small city on the coastline in Tunisia, and
Okay.
I was living always far away from the sea. And when I came here with the ocean, it was amazing. I remember when we started living here, I would take my son to the kindergarten, and there was an easier way to go via the highway, but I would take the marginal just to see the sea or the ocean every single day. So when you come here, and I don't know for people who are familiar with Germany, I think even the buildings are a little bit darker. You come here, suddenly you see houses that are yellow, pink, green, blue, orange, you name it, all colors. And you'd be driving and seeing all these colors, and you go like, wow, this is amazing. I love this place. And then also the light, like the sun, the light, the weather, it was all blowing me away from day one. I felt like going home to Tunisia. I always think of it as Portugal is the best of Tunisia and the best of Germany in a way. So I
Yeah.
found really a second home here.
Is that something that's impressed you in Portugal? Is the range and sort of also the willingness of people here with the language? It's quite it's a thing that people don't know about, and it takes people by surprise. The willingness of the Portuguese to speak various languages. It's not uncommon to find a Portuguese, not like you who speaks six or seven, but a Portuguese person that speaks three or four languages is quite common these days. It's quite incredible for such a small country.
A small country, people tend to learn languages to get to know other cultures. And yes, people are. I remember in the beginning, before I started learning Portuguese, people were very helpful. And even after I started I started speaking Portuguese, whenever they realized that I wasn't finding the right
They'd
word, they would
switch.
switch to English, and it was really really nice. I it was it was overwhelming. People would go an extra mile to just help you, even on the streets. You stop at the streets, you say, I'm sorry, I don't speak Portuguese, and you ask a question. And if they are not able to explain to you, and it happened to me, they may actually take you to the place just because if they are not able to explain it properly.
What were the other things, the other factors in just the lifestyle here that made you think this is going to be a really good fit for me, for my boy, as a place to live, not just as a place to come and visit?
Well, other than the family, all the things we've talked about
Yeah.
Portugal, the fact it's still in Europe. I mean, we wanted to, it's a relatively central for us Europeans, so I can travel anywhere and everywhere from Lisbon. It's a good connection because I do a lot of international business, and in the past, since I've been here, I've always been doing business internationally, so it's very easy to travel to anywhere basically. I think I would say safety. Very, very safe country.
But just shine some light on that, Besma, in terms of doing business here and for people that want to maybe open a company here, these kind of things. It's becoming a really, really attractive place to do that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Portugal is very much in fashion right now. And I joke about it and tell everybody, I tell my friends, yeah, like I figured it out or discovered it much earlier than everybody else, like 14 years ago. But in the past, perhaps 14 years ago, when I moved here, I work in the tech space. And perhaps in the tech space, the Web Summit has been
Yeah.
has been extremely helpful to put Portugal on the world map when it comes to tech, when it comes to entrepreneurship, to startups, to mind you, I was like in one of my previous roles here in Portugal, I was director of international sales and business development. I was selling Portuguese technology around the
Mm.
world. And I remember at the time, I would say, like, there's no brand made in Portugal for technology or for engineering services. It just isn't. So it was always very difficult to kind of sell to the clients
Yeah.
these engineering services. The good thing is it was difficult to enter, but once you're in, it was you'll be there forever because the clients are so happy and so satisfied with the services provided by Portuguese engineers and Portuguese solutions. Let me say that there's one thing that did change for me until the time I came here. And if we take away the first 18 years of my life where I was in Tunisia, between 18 and when we came here was 2009, I was 39. So I was living in so many places, some countries, cities, and I think the longest I stayed in any particular city was 4 to 5 years.
Mm.
Okay. So this is the place where, as an adult, I stayed longest. So, which means until then, I was, making friends, putting roots. Then I had to pack and go professionally, go to another country, another city. And then it's good. It's has its advantages. You have friends in everywhere,
All
from
over the
east to
world. Yeah.
west, all over the world. But it's tiring. And at a certain point in time, I think perhaps also age-wise, I was ready to, and we as a family were ready to kind of settle down. And now here, I've put roots. I have friends. I have also the family of my ex. I'm very good contacts with them. They are my family here, and it's the place where I managed to really kind of stay and build roots and consider this my home for a longer period of time. That had a huge impact on me in terms of peace of mind, in terms of quality of life, in terms of priorities change.
Okay.
Hello.
Besma, what is one thing that you would like people to remember and take away from our conversation? Just one thing.
Come and visit Portugal. Come and see it for yourself. I love the place, so I don't want to repeat anything of what I said, but I think, for example, a lot of my friends who come here for meetings or conferences, acquaintances, business partners, they actually come for the first time to Lisbon, mostly in tech space, in the tech world, they are
Mhm.
mostly men. They would come and they would go like, oh my God, I got to bring the family. And then they would come back a few weeks later, or on the next holidays, and they bring their wives and their children, their spouses and their children. So come and see it.
Question that we ask all of our guests: Portugal, the simple life. Why?
It's a good combination, a good balance between tradition and modernity, between small and big, and it's very friendly, and just, I think the top criteria for me are the colors, the weather, the smell, the sea. That's why it's very
Beautiful.
simple life.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much, Dylan.
It's been a pleasure, and I'm going to let you call it.
Yeah. Thank you. Let's call it then.
So thank you once again to our guest, and thank you to all of you for listening. Please subscribe, share with your friends, give us a thumbs up, and please leave a comment or a review. We always love to hear from you. Don't forget, Portugal The Simple Life also has a magazine, so download it. It's for free. We'll be back next week with a brand new episode, and as we say in Portugal, sejas bem-vindo. Welcome to The Simple Life.